Okay, this gay movie starts with an epic 20-minute lovemaking scene at a sex club. Taking place in real time, Paris 559, Theo and Hugo is a gay French film that follows two men as they spend the night roaming the city streets, getting to know each other, and possibly falling in love? Or is this all just lust? Will these two stay together before the clock hits 5:59? So right from the opening scene, I was hooked for obvious reasons. But after that scene takes place, we see that it's going to become about Theo and Hugo, and we're going to follow them throughout the course of the night. This film has the urgency of films like Weekend or Before Sunrise, and that where it's just these two people and where they're talking about life, which is incredibly challenging, and I'll talk a little bit about how challenging that might be. It has this dreamlike atmosphere because it's set in night, where those other films are not really set in the nighttime, and it does. I mean, a lot of people do say films have a dreamlike quality, but because of setting it in the nighttime, I do feel like it's actually true because, you know, you see them walking in the city streets and there's like nobody around. It feels really surreal in that way. And this is a film that really takes its time to develop and get to know the characters. So if you don't like films that are slowly paced, this film is definitely not going to be for you. But if you do invest in the film, you do get rewarded at the end, I feel like. It becomes a very intimate experience and almost like a first date movie where we see all the excitement that brings and also the conflicts that brings because you're meeting somebody for the first time, so your brain's like firing, like, am I compatible with this person? Am I not compatible with this person? So it works a lot on that level too. In terms of the gay lovemaking scene at the very beginning that takes place in a sex club, I just think it's really daring to open a movie like that, especially for it being like 20 minutes long around that time, maybe 18 to 20 minutes long. And I mean, it could definitely be a put off to some people, and I understand that. I mean, this definitely wouldn't be a great, movie to watch with your friends. You might be a little uncomfortable to watch something like that, and I totally understand why straight people probably would just deter them completely, unfortunately, from watching this film. And it's shot really well too. It doesn't feel like an adult film in a way. It's because it's very stylized and it feels like it's really part of the setting that it's taking place in. And I love how the scene evolves where we slowly, it begins very wide and we see everything happening, but then it slowly evolves into the two characters that we're going to be following. I do love the stylistic choices, especially like the overhead lighting that they make when these two people are destined to be together, at least for the night. I would have to say that the lovemaking scenes are on par with like something like Stranger by the Lake in terms of their graphicness. It doesn't hold back at all. Something really interesting about U.S. films versus like European films, where in the U.S. I feel like people are really, held back in terms of sex scenes in films, but on the violence, there's a lot of violent movies that are rated PG-13, and the U.S. and audiences are more okay with seeing violence on screen. But in Europe, I feel like it's reversed in a lot of ways where sex is just shown just naturally and it's not as uptight. If it's two consenting adults, there's no really danger in showing sex on screen. I do want to talk about from a writing perspective, whenever you do have like the Before Sunrise kind of setting where it's like all taking place in real time, that's incredibly challenging because a lot of editing and writing is about taking the boring, mundane parts of day-to-day life, from walking from point A to point B. But when you set a film like that, it's really challenging because now you have to make these mundane moments interesting. And I think the film really does pull it off by creating engaging conversations and situations to keep the pacing going. Another great aspect of the film, I think, is it's the cinematography and choosing to shoot a lot of these scenes in wide angle and using the steady cam to feel like a voyeur in this situation where you're just kind of like floating like a ghost and spying on these two people having a conversation. And choosing to shoot a lot of these in two shots where we see both of the characters and getting to choose who we get to look at. I think that puts us in as an audience member deeper into the scene and being more involved and making it feel more like this is really happening. So if you're open to films that do show gay love and gay bodies, I mean, especially there's full frontal nudity parts, if you're open to that and you're open to slowly paced films, I think you'll really love this. I caught myself thinking about this movie long after I had seen it and realizing how unique of an experience I saw. I think you'll really like this film. I feel like in a lot of ways, this film reminded me of that character in Boogie Nights played by Burt Reynolds, Jack Horner. who wanted to make like an adult film that was so good that after people got that titillating effect that they would stick around and watch the rest of the movie. In a lot of ways, I feel like this is that film come true.